They're going to ask you a question about compensation in some form. Usually it's just to make sure that if they get to the point where they make you an offer, you're not going to throw it back in their face because, oh no, I was expecting $1 million. You're only paying me $40,000 or whatever it is. So they want to make sure that you're not expecting way more money than they can pay you. Because if you are, then all of this is moot because when they give you the offer, it'll be too little. You said you wanted this much, and they're only paying you this much. So chances are it's not going to work out anyway. So you might as well end it here and go with a candidate that will be happy with the amount of money that you're going to pay. That's why they ask that question, especially early on. They don't ask you that question so they can try and come to some arrangement of what they're going to pay you. They ask the question, especially in the beginning, to filter you out. So usually there's some question about compensation. The best thing to remember is that you don't want to give a number because no matter what number you give, that's what you lose basically. Because if you say a high number, you risk pricing yourself out of the running. They can't afford you and they want to go with someone cheaper. The problem is if you give a low number, then they're going to hold you to that. You said you would be happy with minimum wage, so we're offering you minimum wage, right? So you kind of lose. Whichever way you cut it, you're kind of screwed if you give a number. That's the general rule. The best thing to do is to avoid answering the question. It's just as simple as that. There are many ways to try and wriggle out of it. You say, it's too early for me I don't know hardly anything about this job yet. I can't really give you an answer. You throw the question back. This is an official job. It was approved and posted. So I'm assuming that the salary range was approved and posted. Can I ask what it is? And then they'll make up some cock and bull story about, we don't know. We're hiring for this job, but we don't know how much it pays, right? Yeah. That's really believable. They don't want to tell you because as soon as they tell you, then they kind of lose their negotiating power. If you know that they're willing to go as high as X, you're going to ask for nearly X, right? So long story short, best thing to do is just give a wide range, a low number to a high number, where the low number and the high number are both still possible, but it's a stretch. So you say somewhere between here and here, that would be fine. And if they push you for more, you say, that's the only answer I can give you. I'd just be pulling a number out of the air if you want me to go any more specific than that. I don't know enough about the job to really be able to say. So somewhere between here and there would be reasonable. I'm sure we can work something out, right? They can also ask you, how much money did you make in your last job? Right? They can ask you these pointed questions. And remember, like I said before, this is not a deposition. That is personal information. In most countries of the world, they cannot verify that number. They don't have access to it. It's none of their business. They have no right to it. So they can't go to a website and look it up. They can't discover how much you're making. There are some exceptions in some countries around the world, but generally, especially in the West and in the EU and all this, the only way they would know that number is if you told them. And unfortunately, that kind of works. It's social engineering. They just ask you for the number and a lot of candidates will give it to them unknowingly. And what they'll do is they don't know how much you're worth, so they form their opinion of how much you're worth based on what somebody else has been paying you, and you stayed there. So they conclude that, that must be a reasonable amount of money to pay for you. So what they'll do is they'll pretty much pay you that number or that number plus a pittance. And that's how that works. Okay, so the best thing to do there is just to basically politely and professionally refuse to answer. You say, I just have a personal policy of not giving out that kind of information. I'm sure you understand. Something professional like that. No one's going to rake you over the coals for that. Or if they do, you just give them that answer again. It's as if somebody asked you for your credit card number. I'm sorry, I don't give that information out just as a personal policy for privacy reasons. I'm sure you understand. Yeah, those are the big ones. There's other questions that they ask too, but those are kind of the big ones you should prepare for. Ant Johnson is here, says, guys and gals, take heed to what this man is saying. His knowledge is tried and true. Well, thank you very much, Ant Johnson. That's quite the vote of confidence.